Hi, welcome to this DataMiner training. Welcome to the DataMiner Configurator Level 2 part. Before we dive into it, a very short welcome. My name is Bert Vandenbergen. I'm CTO at Skyline, and I assume a little bit that you already know me because we are here at the third part in this series. The first one was about fundamentals. It was about navigating around and find your way in an existing DataMiner system. Then we were building a DataMiner system by adding elements, views, services, SLAs with all the trending and the alarming. So we were really building a DataMiner system and getting all the data into my DataMiner system. That's level 1. Now we're going to cover level 2, which is more taking a look at the data is in there, how to present that towards our users. So we're going to be working more on the UI layer, visuals, graphicals, dashboards, how to present that in your DataMiner system. The last part here is about more administration of your DataMiner system and more advanced modules. Here in level 2, it's about the UI level. So we are here in DataMiner Configurator Level 2 looking at how to present the data towards your users. Before we were getting it in DataMiner, now we're exposing it towards the users. The first module, which we will dive into right away, is creating Visio files and creating that graphical layer onto my views, elements, services. We'll also take a look at dashboards and low-code apps. We touched upon them in the fundamentals, but now we'll dive a little bit more deeper into that. And once we have those items ready, we need to invite more users and of course make sure they have the correct user rights and the correct security settings to access what they need to access and not more. And one final module we want to cover in here is a little introduction on automation, because automation allows you to make your graphical interface a lot more powerful and, for instance, add an easy button on there for the operator or the user to click on it and immediately execute the whole procedure. So a short intro already to be able to create an easy automation script will be covered in here, the level 2. All right, with that being said, let's dive into the first module, creating Visio files. So this is the module, creating Visio files within DataMiner Configurator Level 2. So in this module, we'll take a look at how to create those Visio files, which are associated with an element or a view or a service or an SLA or a redundancy group. So any object in your surveyor tree structure can have a nice graphical presentation. So whenever you select something, you see a nice graphical presentation, and those graphical presentations are created in Microsoft Visio files. So in this module, we'll take a look at what the visuals are, and then we'll dive into Visio to play around with it and do a lot of exercises and demonstrations on how to create those graphical interfaces with some demos. Okay, so the visuals we have been looking at previously already. So we are talking about those graphical presentations, could be like a world map. You have the different sites on there. You click on a site, you go to a continent. In this case, you can go to a country, see a more logical overview. You can dive into one specific element, see a more graphical interface with some KPIs, for instance, or a front panel. The KPIs with trend graphs, all of these things can be presented right in there. Also, dynamic behavior can be added in there. So it gives you a nice graphical way of finding your way in your system. You can immediately see where the alarm color coding is bubbling up to the top. You can drill down into that region and further drill down and see in a graphical way where things go wrong or where your attention is needed. So we will be looking at building those exact graphics we see here that are associated with views, services, elements, etc. So be aware that this is available under the visual section of your card, of your view, element, whatever. And it is also possible to have multiple pages underneath there and even subpages. So Microsoft Visio has those tab pages at the bottom, a little bit like an Excel has it as well. So if you create multiple of those pages, we will also see those pages, but they are displayed at the top here. So just a small side note, you do require Microsoft Visio, of course, to create the visual overview drawings here. So you need Microsoft Visio as like an administrator to create the drawings. Once you created them, the people that are just consulting the system and not changing the drawings, they don't require any Microsoft Visio. They just see the graphics loaded into DataMiner Cube or into the web interface. So you will need Microsoft Visio to be able to create those drawings here in this module. Okay, so some of these things we will be looking at, dynamic names that are being added there of your elements, the alarm color coding that is being shown there. You could have parameter sets that are linked in there. Real-time values are very important, of course, to show some KPIs there. And you could also add some buttons there that are linked to automation scripts. So that's why the automation scripts can come in handy here if you want to make a nice graphical interface and just a couple of easy buttons for the user to switch to main or backup, things like that. It will execute typically an automation script that does a couple of different actions after each other to do this procedure in an automated way. So that's why automation can come in handy here. Okay, so we'll play around with some of those key linking components here in Microsoft Visio. So as I said, we'll jump into it with creating some Microsoft Visio drawings. So at this point, you will need Microsoft Visio on your computer. Okay, so how do we do that? And I'll immediately do that in a short demo here. We will link a new Visio file to an existing view or element or whatever you have there. So I'll dive into my training system. So if you have somewhere a DataMiner system, or you have access to our training platform, or you can also spin up a DAS DataMiner agent, you do have somewhere something to play with. That's all you need. I'll just go here in that creating Visio file subview. I'll create a brand new subview so that I have a new playing field, and I'll just say it. This is the training BERT view to just play around with that. So if I create a brand new view, there is nothing associated with it, and it will just show you like a default drawing that is added into the system, and it will show all the subviews and elements. So if I would create a new subview here, automatically just new view 1 is just fine. It would automatically pop up in here as a view tile. And if I would do some drag and drop editing and move, for instance, my training elements to this view, you will see that the element would also be popping up in there. Let's exit the mode. So I added a couple of items in there. So you can see that the default graphical presentation does already show you a little bit of the contents of your view and the items that are associated in there. Note, I will do it for a view because that's kind of the most simple thing you could say. If you do it for an element, be aware that you are creating it for any Microsoft element in this case, or if I would go for a Philips element here, for any Philips element, because then you would associate it with the driver or connector. Remember, if I just quickly go back to protocols and templates, and I go to the Microsoft platform or any other driver, you will see that this one actually has a Visio drawing associated with it. And you can see in the Visio files section, there is indeed a custom file associated with that. I could go back to the general default as well, which is a very basic one. I believe we have one on the TV switch here. You can see it doesn't show it because by default, because it immediately goes to data display, because the graphic that is the default one is a very basic one with just a name, some key details of that element and some more like the alarm and trend template and the protocol and things like that in there. Now, so be aware if you do it on elements, what I wanted to say is you will do it basically on the protocol level, meaning that every Microsoft platform that is in your DataMiner system, and I might have lots of them. As you can see, I have multiple ones that are using this driver here or this connector. So any Microsoft platform will be using this graphical presentation. So if I create a graphical presentation for a specific driver, all of the elements using that driver will use that graphical presentation. And you can see that as well here, if I click on the Brussels IRD1 or the IRD2 or the London, or it always shows the same graphical presentation. The only thing it will do, it will link to the correct element, of course, and show London IRD3 or Brussels IRD1. So there is a little bit of dynamic linking in there, but it is one drawing being reused across all those IRDs because they are using the same connector. Same thing for the Microsoft platform. There is also one drawing for all the Microsoft platforms. So for an element, it's associated with the connector. For a view, you have for each and every view that you can create a graphical presentation, but there is a standard one available. You can also associate one with within service. That's also possible to make a graphical presentation for a service. That's similar as with a view. Every service has its own graphical presentation there. Okay, so let's go back to the basics and let's just look at our brand new view that we created here. We created a training BERT view and we will make a graphical presentation there because the default graphical presentation is not what I had in mind. I wanted to make a little bit more KPIs available and some more nicer stuff there. So what I can do is I can just right click anywhere on this existing drawing. And there is one important section there for editing that is set as active Visio file. So you can set another one as the active Visio file for this view. And we will go for a brand new blank drawing. It basically means that it will download an existing blank drawing somewhere from your DataMiner agent and use that one as a new blank drawing. So it has like a default on the DataMiner system. If I already have something on my computer and I already previously created something, or I have some nice good schematics available off the shelf, then I can also go for a new upload. A new upload just gives you a browse window. I can select it from my document somewhere and take an existing Visio file and upload it in here to use that one. So that can come in handy. What is existing? Well, existing allows you to actually reuse the same visual overview or a Visio file for multiple views. So typically, every view will have its own graphical presentation. So if I go to operations, I see a world map. If I go to Europe, I see Europe. If I go to London, I see London. So every view has its own graphical presentation, of course. But if you would have a certain situation where you might have something like, okay, I have, let's say, 1,000 sites which are kind of like similar, you can create one drawing for a site and some graphical presentation there and reuse that same visual overview on the 1,000 sites that you have in there. Then you can say, yeah, but how do I make sure that it's correctly linking? Well, you do have the possibility to link for instance, the elements that is inside the current view. So you don't necessarily need to hard code the link to this element, which is with the name trainer element there. But you can also say, I'm linking to an element inside the view. So if I open up site 1 or site 2, it will show the content of that site in the Visio 1 or in the Visio that I open on the next one. So there is some more dynamic behavior possible. Okay, let's not make it too complicated, and let's continue with our first exercise. So we have the training view that we wanted to modify the graphical presentation for with a new blank drawing. So if I click on new blank drawing, what will happen? It will take that blank new drawing from the DataMiner system and it will associate it with this view. And so I will see it changing in the UI. But what I want to point out as well is it will immediately open it also in Microsoft Visio. And you can see in my taskbar at the bottom, I don't have Microsoft Visio open. So what will happen is next to my video there, we should see Microsoft Visio opening with this new blank drawing. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. So what's happening? The drawing is going to change with the new blank drawing. So it's just a blank gray box that I have. And indeed, Microsoft Visio has been popping up there. You can see it's blinking and asking my focus there. What happened? It took the drawing, associated it with my training BERT view, and it opened it up in Microsoft Visio as well. And I can see this is a gray box. So I can see indeed this is a gray box that is showing there. And now what is the cool thing? That is that this Microsoft Visio is kind of associated with this drawing. Meaning that if I do a basic action, like here in the tools section, and if I take this rectangle tool, and if I draw a rectangle there, and if I hit on save in my Microsoft Visio, basically Cube will detect that, and it will automatically take the new drawing that you saved associated with that view, and everybody looking at my training BERT immediately is being updated. And if I want to add or if I want to just move this drawing to the other side, and if I do Control S or I hit on the save button, it will just immediately update and make the drawing reflect those changes in the view training BERTs. Now I added 2 of them. Now I have 2 of them. Now if I close this and tomorrow I come back and I say like, oh, I want to further change this and modify this. So, or any of the existing drawings you have there, you just go to the drawing, you right click, and what you will now see, you not only have that set as active Visio with the new blank, we don't want to have a new one again because I already started with something. So you can already see that we customized it. So we went from the general default to the custom version. So I don't want to change the Visio file anymore, but I want to further edit this in Visio and I want to further modify this. So I can tomorrow come back, click on edit in Visio. What happens there? Once again, Microsoft Visio is popping up automatically and asking my attention. So if I click on it, you will see that drawing is already there. And I can, for instance, add a third box in there right in the middle, hit save. And now I already have 3 items that I added in there. So that's how you can easily create a graphical presentation, associate something with an existing drawing. You just right click, go for set as active Visio, new blank, and you start editing in Visio. If you have an existing drawing, you right click, edit in Visio, and you start further tweak this. So that's how you can very easily create a graphical presentation to and associate that with an view, element, or surface. Just be aware, if you do it on elements, you basically do it on a protocol, and all the elements using that protocol or connector will have that drawing. Okay, so we were able to create now a new graphical presentation or edit an existing one, make something in Microsoft Visio. That's all good and well, but I only had some white rectangles and of course I want to do a little bit more. But first things first, there's here a little note on the advanced editing and the shape data and some of the macros. So let me explain you how that works. Well, in Microsoft Visio here, we do have those white rectangles added, but how can we now add more information to that drawing so that DataMiner knows that this is a Microsoft server, or this is a Philips element, or this is another view, the London view, for instance? How can we know that? Well, there is something in Microsoft Visio which is called shape data, and you can see it already here because my shape data is open. There is currently no shape data. If this window is not open, if I just close it, you would, if you open Visio from DataMiner Cube, you should see the advanced editing. And the advanced editing also shows the shape data. So if I select one which has shape data, that's actually the header bar here, because if I go back to Cube, you will see the header bar shows training BERT, which is actually the name of my view. So how is this thing showing training BERT? Well, let's go back. Let's investigate and select this text field. You will see that this is actually associated with the view, this view, and it shows the view name. So there is some shape data here, and this is being shown in the advanced editing. What is the advanced editing? It's the same as the shape data, but it helps you out by defining a little bit better all the different known shape data fields that DataMiner supports. But doesn't really matter if you use this one. You can also just take your shape and right click, go to data, shape data, and then it will pop up this shape data. It's possible that it's maybe in a pop-up. This is the same thing now. The shape data, you can see you have view info enabled. That's the window from Microsoft Visio itself. And you can also dock it there. And this is the window which is coming from DataMiner Cube, which does a little bit more validation. So shape data is a standard thing from Microsoft Visio, and we need to add specific shape data to be able to tell DataMiner which thing is linked to which shape. Just to show you an example, Microsoft Visio has something as shapes and stencils. So you have certain predefined shapes that are available. And for instance, if I go into the network and I go to computers, if I add a computer here, you will see a computer already has like an asset number, a location, a building, a manufacturer, all of these things. That's also shape data, the CPU. And you can see that those ones are in our editor not known to the DataMiner system. So those are things that are not really meaningful to the DataMiner system, but they are there. We do also add some of those stencils readily available from the DataMiner system. So we have a couple of things that we ship along with DataMiner. So for instance, the world maps, you can actually download it as well from the Microsoft website, but here you have the world map. So if you want to add a specific country in there, so you can just take a country, put it there, and already have something like a graphical presentation to put some sites on there, for instance. So you can play around with that. Other stencils that are available are, for instance, the buttons, icons, or KPIs. The icons are like could be useful if you add the icons in there. Those are sometimes like icons which are more in like satellite, TV, cable, all of these kind of Skyline icons, as we call them, are available in here with multiplexers, all of these things. So you could come in handy to have nice icons in there. So that's one we ship, and there is another one that I wanted to show, the DataMiner section. Yeah. Buttons and KPIs. Buttons and KPIs, if you activate those ones, it's possible that indeed you might have a pop-up that says like, do you want to enable macros, yes or no? Please click enable, because those ones will actually be able to do certain more advanced things to copy some of the shape data to sub-shapes. We'll talk about grouping of shapes later on, but that's like one to show a KPI, for instance, of a specific parameter. So those ones are helping you out a little bit. Instead of just clicking on the enable macro, which is actually perfectly fine for me. In the slide, it also mentions if you go to your accounts, if you go to options, If you go to options, you do have there, is it in the trust center settings, you do have the macro settings, and there you can say that instead of disable all macros with notification, then you get the pop-up, which is actually fine in me. You can also just enable all of them, and then it won't show the pop-up, but I just approve them, which is perfectly fine as well. Okay, so Microsoft Visio gives already the possibility to use those stencils. There are stencils available also from other vendors with some nice graphics already in there. There are some stencils available from Microsoft. We do provide some stencils as well, so you already have certain shapes you can take from those stencils. Keep that in mind when you create your drawings there. Okay, that being said, this is more generic Visio information, you could say. We have shapes, and shapes have shape data. We need that shape data to be able to link to those objects. I was diverting a little bit to stencils as well to give you that information on stencils as well. Now, what kind of linking can we do? Well, we will do that in an exercise and go through it step by step. But if I select a specific item on my drawing, you will always see in that shape data or that advanced editing window what it is linked to. So in this case, the whole group is selected, and I can see that this is linked to the element with the name my DataMiner agent, and it's not enabled, or hyperlinking is not enabled. So this one is actually linked to an element. And that's why DataMiner will show it and add the color coding in there and be able to show the name and some key parameters in there. How are these names and key performance indicators or parameters being shown there? That's with the placeholder star. So the star is something that we will need to remember when we create those drawings. And typically we group things together when we are making a whole series of parameters together, like in this example. Okay, we'll do it in an exercise, but just as a starting point, you can link to element names, you can link to parameters, you can show the alarm status of a parameter, you can show the real-time value. We will play with all of these things now in our exercise. So let's take a look again at our drawing, and let's play around with that a little bit. Let me start from scratch and just close this. Do you want to save it? Don't save it. No, I was playing there with the stencils. So we will start from scratch. And the first thing I will do is actually just right-click Edit in Visio to open it in Visio. And maybe just remove 2 of my rectangles. And I'm only going to start with 1. So I have 1 rectangle. Okay, perfectly fine. Now, how do I link this thing to a view? Probably the most simple one. Let's link it to a view. Well, therefore, you need to add some shape data. And if I click on there, you will see that you can link it to a whole bunch of things. And I have indeed in there view. And then I can specify either the name or the ID of a view. The ID would be maybe a little bit the preferred way, because then if you ever change the name of your view, you would break your linking. So be careful when you use names in here for linking. That's not always the most robust way of making a link. Every object has like an internal identifier in DataMiner, so it's always better to use that internal ID, because that never changes. That's a unique permanent reference to a view, an element. So that's typically what we want to use here. So I could indeed type in there, for instance, London, and then just hit save. And now let's take a look in my DataMiner cube. Oh, there it is already. I have indeed the London view linked here, and my tooltip indicates it. If I click on it, it indeed goes to London. Perfectly fine. All right, let's just go back to my view. So it's linking to London, so that's how it works. Okay, That was good, but let me do it differently. Instead of manually doing it here, let me just delete this again. Let me do it another way. And let me add this rectangle again, hit save. There is nothing linked to it anymore. I started completely from scratch again, you could say. So nothing is in there again. I save, and now it's not yet linked again. Well, there is another way of doing the linking to any kind of those items. We still need to do all the other stuff as well, but let me first show you how you can also do that. And that is with online editing inside DataMiner Cube. So inside DataMiner Cube, you can right-click on your element, and next to the, or you can right-click on a shape or on your Visio somewhere. And instead of going to edit in Visio, there is an edit mode. And if you do that, a magical panel on the right-hand side appears and allows you to define or to select a shape here. So you select a shape, and you see the preview even of this shape. You can see it here, and then you can link it and define all the linking in there with drop downs. And instead of selecting or typing the view London or the element my DataMiner agent here, I have a drop down available, and I can just select any of the views or elements or parameters that I have in the DataMiner system without needing to manually type it. So that's a quite convenient way that I will be using now to link again my shape to London. So the only thing I did in Microsoft Visio now was I added a rectangle, but I didn't care about the shape data. So now I will go back to DataMiner Cube and do it in here instead of manually fiddling around with those shape data items. How do I do that? I right-click somewhere on the drawing and I go to edit modes. And if I go to edit mode, you have to be careful. There are two tab pages here, and it tends to go to the edit page if you just right-click somewhere on the page. Instead, if you would right-click on a shape, it would immediately go to a shape. But we are interested in shapes, shape data. We are wanting actually that rectangle. And you can see that there is actually only one thing in there, the sheet.1, which is actually this top header bar here. But my sheet dot whatever is my rectangle is not in there. And what is that sheet dot whatever, that name actually? Well, let's go back to Visio. Whenever you add a shape there, it will get a name which is visible in your shape data panel. Your shape data panel shows here sheet.tree. So that's this one. If I take the pointer tool here for a moment, if I select the header bar there, this is sheet.1. And the gray area is sheet.2. This is sheet.3. And if I probably add another one, it will be sheet.4. Yes, exactly. So it kind of like continuously goes incrementing that last number there. A small side note, if you ever want to change this sheet.tree, there is a possibility to go and have this developer tab enabled. If you don't have the developer tab enabled, you can go to View, Options, and in the Advanced Visio options, right at the bottom somewhere, you can run in developer mode. If you activate this run in developer mode, if you do that, you will have the developer tab page, and there you have the shape name on there. And this shape name, if you click on there, you can change this sheet.tree to, for instance, my view rectangle. Okay, so you can change a name if you would like to do so. So I changed it, view rectangle, and I also saved it. Let's now go back and let me allow it to reload. Maybe close the edit mode as well and reopen it. So edit shape now, I still don't see it. Well, why is that? Well, by default, if I have many shapes on there, it will not show all the little shapes that are not useful, but only by default the ones that are already configured to be used in DataMiner and have some known properties. So either I would need to add a known property, or I can make all the shapes selectable and then they are all in there and I can go for that view rectangle. And once you have that shape available there, you can see a preview and you can link it to a whole bunch of things in DataMiner, and I can start doing the linking here with easy and convenient drop-downs. So I was linking it to London. So link this shape to the, not element, but view. I select view. And then which view do you want to link it to? Well, you have the drop down here available, and let me start typing London. I have the London view available and I can save it and will immediately link it to London. So now you need to, the linking is not happening, or the hyperlinking and the interactivity is not happening when I'm in edit mode. You need to close the edit mode, and now you have the linking and the tooltip and the possibility to drill down on it. If you are in edit mode, it's allowing you to select this rectangle or select the top rectangle and just select it, not drill down on it. Let's have a quick peek at my Visio file, because what happened with my Visio file, it is not linked to the view with the name London, but it's smart enough to make sure that indeed it's not going to link to London, but to 853, the internal identifier of the view London. So if I ever change, for instance, the name of London to something else, London site or something else, then it would not affect this linking within this drawing, and this link is now more robust, you could say. So that's another advantage of using instead of typing London here, you can make a mistake in the spelling or in the name of your view, or you can also, and you have it less robust, so it makes it better to link it in here. Okay, so my view or my rectangle is now linked to London. That's great. And if I now want to also display the name, like we have here training Bert, I want to display the name on there. How can I do that? Well, of course, I could go into Microsoft Visio. If you want to change the name, you can go to the text, or you can also just double click on the rectangle, and then you can put in there London, for instance. But yeah, you would not know the casing, for instance. I could make a mistake in the casing. So if I kind of hard code it, it would not automatically follow whatever I make as changes towards the future. So hard coding it in there is not the best way. So therefore, we typically want to use the star. The star means that this text will be replaced at runtime with whatever I want to show in there. Now, note you can also do something like name colon space star. And of course, if you want, you can make it a little bit bigger. So you can change the font as well, of course. So it's not necessarily just only a star that is in there. You can add some text before it or after it as well. For instance, name column star. So if I save that, and if I go back, it says name nothing. Because, well, actually, I still need to specify here in the info what I want to show in there. A name doesn't have that many things. An ID is maybe more internal, only the name or the view name, that's the same, and the statistics are available. So let's add the name in there, and now I can see, okay, there it is, the name London is in there, dynamically added. Perfectly okay. That's my first item that I added. I was able to link a shape to a view and add the name in there. Let me do exactly the same thing for an element as well. For instance, for my training element or trainer element that I have underneath there. Just to get the hang of it, I will do it once more for an element. So I make another rectangle. You can use a little bit the items to make it a little bit the same width and height that are in there. So I have the same rectangle, or the same, or yeah, I can position it anywhere where I want. So I just created a new one. I hit on save. Remember, I will need this name sheet.5 for online editing in DataMiner Cube. So I saved it and I remember sheet.5. Now I go in here, I go to the edit mode. I need this sheet.5. I can actually click on it, or I can from the drop down select sheet.5. I have my blank rectangle in there and I want to link it to my trainer element. Okay, save, but I forgot to add a star. So let's go back to my Visio. So you can easily go back, do a double click, add star in there, maybe make it a little bit bigger as well. I'm not sure which font I was using here. 18. Let's do it a little bit consistent. 18. Okay. I don't add name here. Maybe I can add here something like view, so that you can see that it's a view. Let me save that one. So on the elements, I won't have the prefix view. With here, I have view London, but now I still need to specify which kind of information I want to add. So from the drop down, you will see that an element has a little bit more information. So there's a whole series of things like the polling IP address, the connector or driver, the alarm template. So all of these things are available, but I'm just going to show the element name, which is fine and good enough for this exercise. Okay, so that's great. I have a rectangle linked to the view. Let me close this. Linked to the view, so it's effectively hyperlinked there. I can drill down into it, and also now this trainer element. Let me dive into it. Okay, I can drill down into it. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. I have some basic shapes that are linked to a view or to an element. Okay, that's perfect. But for an element, I typically want to show a little bit more than just the name. And I only have one star in there. How can I have more than one star and also a star in there, and also a little bit more like real-time parameters and things like that? Let's play around with that one. So we'll leave those two rectangles as they are. And what we will do is we'll go back to Visio and we will create a little bit of let's say, a kind of a front panel kind of view on one of those elements there. To be able to do that, I will have multiple text fields that will show me, for instance, the name of the element. Well, I don't really need to prefix it, but I could, if I want. Whoa. I wanted to zoom in a little bit, but that was not that convenient. Where is my, okay. Let me take my pointer tool. So I added just a text field with a text editor there, and I just dragged and dropped something like that, or dragged to make a rectangle. Oh, if you don't put anything in there, it disappears again. So I'm a little bit clumsy here. So I put star in this one as well. But what I want to do is I want to, let me take the pointer tool now. I want to make sure that they are right aligned. And I can reposition them a little bit. Let me maybe just remove this background for a moment so that I can use a little bit let's zoom in a little bit as well. I can use a little bit of the grid view on there, and let me use this one as well so that I can have a nice front panel overview there. Okay, so I'm going to use this one for the name, and what I do is underneath it I will also add some parameter names or some real-time parameters, but I will give them a little bit of an indent because I want to make a distinction between the name and then the parameter. This is parameter 1 that I add in there, so okay, that's perfectly fine now. I'll make it a little bit wider. And this one I will just Control-C, Control-V so that I have a next one as well underneath it. Okay, I want to show the overall alarm state in front of it. Maybe I should have started with something like that, and that we can nicely see this kind of shape there. So I already have a couple of things together. I have an overall alarm state that is being shown, the name of the elements, and some 2 parameters there. I think that's already some nice thing I have there. Okay, so 3 text fields I added, and 1 block that is going to show me the overall alarm states of the elements in front of it. Now, if I would go into editing, and let me just select sheet.11, sheet.6, sheet.9, sheet.10. If I save this, I click on save. And if I go here, yeah, if I would go into the edit mode, now I have edit shape. I have a whole bunch of these sheet.9, the first text field, the second text field. And I would need to link every single object or shape to each time to the element, and the next text field again to the element, and again to the element, and again to the element. So what I want to do is I want to group everything together, because all of this will be linked to the same element, and they show just individual pieces of data of that element. So therefore the grouping in Visio comes in quite handy. So let's close this and go back. And what I will do is I will just click and drag to select all of the items that I created before, and I right click on any of them to go to group and group. And if I do that, I now have one shape. So if I deselect it and if I click once, everything is grouped together. If I move it, it's nicely moving all together. I can still select a subshape by clicking once and then clicking once again, and then you will see that the rectangle around it is still highlighted, but I selected a subshape. So you can see that there is 1 click and then a second click to go into that sub shape. Now, and that will be more convenient, because now I will be able to group the whole, link the whole group to my elements, and then all the subsections displaying different items in there. Okay, so I'll do the linking now. So I need to remember again that my whole group, which sheet it is, it's the 12, sheet.12. So let's go and go to the edit, not in Visio, sorry, edit mode. And I need to go to edit shape and select that sheet.12. I didn't save it. Sheet.12 is not there because I still need to save. And if I now go back, I will have a sheet.12, and actually all the other ones, 9, 10, 11, are all gone, because I can only start from the top, you could say. Only the shapes that are directly onto your page can be linked to something. All the other ones, the sub shapes, are now underneath the sheet.12, so therefore they are no longer available. But they are available once I select sheet.12. You will see that there are some child shapes here. The 9, 10, 11 are available in here as a child shape. So you have that hierarchical structure in here. Okay, so my sheet.12, I want to link it. You can see the graphical presentation, lots of stars, because I still need to link it. Link this shape to an element or a view. Well, I'm going to go for an element, and I'm going to go again for that trainer element, because we will do the same example, you could say, but a little bit more in depth. So let's already just click on save to see what happens. So it will add the color coding there, but it doesn't add any fields or it doesn't add any sub items there, because I didn't specify what needs to be displayed where. Well, you can typically just also click on here, but sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, and I need to just select here, or if I need to hit save first, and then no, it doesn't work. Let me go back here. If you select once, you select the group. If you select another one, another time, you select the subshape. The sheet.6, that's the top one. I need to put the name in there. So let's go to sheet.6. And what do I put in there? The info, like we did before with the previous one. Element name. Let's save that and take a look at that. and it still needs to update. There we go. And there we have the trainer element already popping up the name there. Now we can also, and now the selection works here. So sometimes it takes some reloading or whatever. So you can actually select on the first one, it's sheet.6, it's linked to the element name. You can click on the second star, and this is sheet.9, and this is not linked to anything yet. I'm not going to go for info. You could, if you want, also add like the polling IP or the protocol or the connector in there. But I'm more interested in parameters now, and I want to display, for instance, the audio output level in there, and maybe the second one. I can just click on the second one in there. I'm gonna link it to the let's say the LMB1 supply on off. Let's save that, and let's see, we have the 6 dBm and the off in there nicely being displayed. So if I would open up this element in a new undocked card to play with it, and if I want to change this 6 dBm to, for instance, let's say 12, let's apply that, you will see that the 12 is automatically updating there. So this is automatically updating. If you want, you can, of course, like I mentioned, go back here. You click once on the star and a second time on the star. Now we have this one. If you click on the text icon or the text tool, then you will be able to change the name, and let's put audio space there. And for the second one, I'll put LMB, for instance, there, just to indicate what this is about. Let's go back to my pointer tool. Let's save my file, and let's go back. So now I say audio 12 and LMB off. A little bit more context to that. All right. Sounds good. I now have a nice already extended my graphical interface here for this element with some 2 key parameters that I want to show immediately in here. Now I want to build it a little bit different, because I also want to show if the audio output level is in alarm with an LED in front of it. So I want to show the status. Yeah, it's critical now, but is it critical because of this LMB or because of this audio? I don't really know for now. So I want to show an LED which is only showing me the alarm of this audio output level. How can I do that? Well, let's add an LED for that one. And now this is a cool feature which has been added in one of the later versions of Microsoft Visio already for a couple of years. But and that is that if you select a group, you can right click on a group. And previously you could just group and ungroup, but now you can actually open a group as well. I think it's since 2019 or something, so it's already quite a few years, but nevertheless. So open group allows you to really open that group, and you really go inside that group, and now you can really modify whatever you want inside this group and the shape, and just reorganize things a little bit. It was not completely to the right there, so let me add this one there. But I want to add an LED in front of the audio, so let's take the ellipse or circle. So the ellipse allows you to create this ellipse, but the helper line is a nice circle, or you can also use the Control or Shift or something like that. An LED for that's it. Let me put that in front of it. That's going to be perfectly fine. So let me go out of the group again. So now be careful you don't close the complete Visio, but the close underneath it will go outside of your group, because now you're inside your VSDX sheet 12 group. So you're in the group. So you need to close this group to go back to your regular Visio file. So I added inside that group a nice LED there. So let me save this by hitting Ctrl S and going back. Yeah, but this thing is now also showing me the overall state, because let me open the new card again. Let me see. Yeah, here you can see that the audio output level is supposed to be a minor, but it's still showing critical. Yeah, I didn't do anything yet with it. I just every shape that you add by default on this in this linked shape will show the overall state. But that's not what I want with the LED. So let's go back to the edit of your element here. Yeah, by the way, this green section here, that's because I was moving this to the side. So let me maybe put that back so that you can see the default view again. So I need this LED, so I need to select this LED, and that's going to be the sheet.14. It's kind of logical because it's the last number that I just added, but I can double check by clicking once on the LED and clicking twice. Then the LED is selected, and I can see this is sheet.14. All right, so sheet.14. What can I do with it? Well, I can actually link it to a parameter. Okay, I can link it to the audio output level. That's fine. But what will it do? Because there's no star in it. If there would be a star in it, it would show the 12 dBm, but there is no star in it. So I will need to define some other options and configure some other options there. So if I click on the configure options, I can actually add some actions there by clicking on the plus sign, or remove some again if you add some of them. And one of the actions that I can do, that I'll come back to another one later on, is alarm. Display the alarm color. Let's try that out. So now only the option that I defined there was alarm. Let me save that and let's take a look at the results. And what happens is this LED will now be linked to that miner alarm. There you go. Because the LED, the sheet.14, is now linked to the audio output level, more specifically to the alarm color. That's perfect. That's what I wanted. Now, let me go back to the Visio file because I want to do something else with the LED. So I'll go back again and select the group, right-click group, open the group. Let's dive back into the group. And with the LMB1 supply, I want to also add a graphical presentation there. Let's also just add a smaller circle, for instance. Yeah, just to make sure that it's not completely like an LED, let's make the fill a little bit like dark gray and the border or the line a little bit thicker, so that it kind of like maybe it's like a plug or something like that. So it's just, it could be any kind of symbol. But with this one, I want to do a show height. Or you could also add, for instance, a cross there if it's on or off, something like that. But I just want to do a show height. So I add something on there. Let me close again the group. That I want to show height to indicate whether or not the LMB supply is on or off. Save that one. Let's go back to my graphical presentation. I can see it's actually color-coded there. No, that was not what I wanted, but let's come back to that later on. Let's don't worry about the color coding now. Now, I want to do a show height of this last object that I added, the sheet.15 that is. I can double check, click once on the input icon, sheet.15. Okay, that's perfectly fine, sheet.15. Now I want to link it also to that LMB supply. So LMB one supply it is I actually use. And now let's take a look again at the options and go for configure. I could add that as I previously did. I click on the plus sign and then I could add an alarm. Okay, that's what I did with the previous one. I don't want to do that again. I actually want to get rid of that red color, but I'll do that later on. I don't worry about that now. But now I want to do a show or a hide. So you can do a show or a hide depending on a parameter. You can also do an action like an flip around the x-axis or flip around the y-axis, or you can also do a rotate, which allows you to rotate an object 90 degrees or just depending on the value more or less. I'll keep it a simple one. I'll do a show height and I'll do a show if the value is on. Let's say if the LMB is on, I show that there is an input. If it's off, it's gone. You could also do it the other way around and maybe put a red cross, showing a red cross on it or something if it's off. but you can play around with that. So it shows me, yeah, here it shows 1, which is on, and the configure, it shows the readable, human readable value. So the LMB1 is going to do show height. Let's play around with that. So it's not there, okay? It's not there. Let me open up my element and go to the demodulator setup. And there I have the LMB1 supply. So let's toggle the on off. So I put it on, and then it appears again there. And if I put it on off, it is being hidden again. So on off show height is being added there. Okay. So that's cool. Now I can do a show height as well. But I was kind of annoyed by the fact that, let me show it again, by the fact that this thing was also color coded. And actually, if I go back to my DataMiner cube and Visio, and I go once more in that group, open the group, and yeah, let's say that I want to add a little bit of an background onto my view here, move this one to the back, maybe fill it with a certain, yeah, you have to be careful with color codings, of course, if you put some color codings that you're not, yeah, confusing people with alarm color coding, of course. So just for demo purposes, I'll go for a gray background. And maybe I'll remove the line so that it's just like some kind of background color. So I made a background color on my complete visual representation of this element. If I save this, what will happen in DataMiner Cube? Well, it will just do a complete color coding of all the shapes that are inside my graphical presentation. So that's not what I wanted. Be aware, the LED is still linked only to the audio output level. I can show that. You can see this one stays blue because this LED is only linked to the audio output level, not to everything else. So how can I fix that? Well, you can of course fix it by making no background or making it transparent. But yeah, I don't really want that because I want a little bit something that holds everything together. So I want to make some kind of background, but I don't want it to be color coded. Well, DataMiner always wants at least some shape to show the overall alarm state. Well, yeah, I do have that. That's the one at the front here. Well, but you have to tell DataMiner that this is the only shape that should show the overall alarm state. Okay, how can I do that? Well, you need to select that section here at the front, and I'm going to verify the sheet name there. So I click once on it, I click a second time. That's the sheet.11. So I want to display the overall alarm state in the sheet.11. So let's select the child shape sheet.11. And how do I do that now? Well, you want to link it to a parameter. Well, yeah, not really a single parameter, but star all parameters. So star is a wildcard. So this is the wildcard that I want to use. I want to link it to the overall, to all the parameters together. And again, like the LED, I want to configure and show that alarm, not show, but I want to add that alarm color in there. That was the same thing I did with the LED. With the LED, I linked it to one single parameter and went for the option alarm. Here, I take the summary state rectangle at the front, and I link it to all the parameters together and alarm color that needs to be added there. And then if you save that, DataMiner will be smart enough to say like, oh, we already showed the overall alarm state there, so all the other items don't need to be color coded, and I leave them as they are by default. The same thing as they are shown inside Microsoft Visio will be reflected here. So, and now also my input signal is no longer showing that color inside of it. Okay, So that's how I can build a nice graphical presentation for an element. So I group things together. I have different fields for showing a name or other details of the element, showing real-time data. I can make a graphical presentation for the alarm color of one single parameter or all the parameters together, the overall alarm state. I can do a show height, and I can play around with the rotates and things like that as well. It's the same principle. So I can now further leverage that knowledge to build a complete front panel with even more goodies on there. Okay, so it's always the same principle. Whenever you have an object, you link to something and you take a look at all the details. As you might have noticed, there are many things in there. Even in the advanced editing, you do have even more items that are available in there. If I select, for instance, an item, you have lots of items in there. So I would say there the help comes into play, and the docs will allow you to play around with more items. But I do want to show you a couple of more things as a starting point. So let's play around with it a little more. Let's close this editing mode and let's take a look at what we have. Okay. Let's go back to Visio. First thing what I want to mention as well is that you can leverage those pages at the bottom. So they are displayed at the bottom here, so I can just add a plus and have a brand new page next to it. So the first page, if you just double click or use the right click rename, you can say, for instance, this is the overview page. And for instance, the next page that I add is like details, for instance, I want to have in there. So you can just, if I save that, you will now see that at the top, you will have those two pages here, the details, which is currently still blank, and the overview that is available in there. Okay, so that being said, let's take a look at that details page, and let's add maybe another rectangle on there. And what I'll do is I'll add a little bit bigger one because I want to link it to something else. So I first need to save it. So I save it in here. So now my details page has one big rectangle there. So let's go again to that edit mode and let's take a look on, let's make sure you have edit shape. And then there's only one on there, the first one, which is the big rectangle. Let's have a quick look at what else is available in here. So we can link to an element, a view, a service, a redundancy group, a single alarm, an automation script. That's an interesting one. If we come to the automation scripts, you can just add just like a button on there, not that big, but a small one with text on it, switch to main or backup. You click on there and an automation script is being executed. Or a single parameter set or a multiple set. There are some more advanced things. We're not going to cover those. But what I want to play with, for instance, is just a simple link. And you can link to a web page or a video thumbnail or an app. So I'll link, for instance, to a web page, https www.skyline.be. And you can actually have this act as a button so that it opens up in a web page. If I save that one, I will basically have, I need to close the editing to have the the interactivity. So now this is a big button, and if I click on it, it opens up here on my first page and the web page of Skyline. Okay, so if I go back to the edit modes, well, actually, you can see it's now edit page. Let me close this edit mode again. If you immediately right click on the correct shape, you can see this is opening the web page. You can click on edit mode and then it will automatically go to the edit shape, have that sheet selected or that shape selected, sheet.1, and see all the properties here. And I can also show it inside the shape. If I save that, it will actually load the web page inside your page as well. So now the web page is displayed in here. So that's how you can also display, for instance, a video thumbnail in there and all of these things. Now, Also in Visio, you saw that there were many items available, or if I select the shape, many items available. It's too much to cover everything. Therefore, I would say we can leverage two things. Let me also open up the zine system because I'll be showing the zine system. But you can always go to the help. And if you go to the help, you basically go to docs.dataminer.services. And for Visio, you do have a section there, which is located underneath the basic DataMiner functionality Visio drawings. And underneath the Visio drawings, you do have a whole bunch of information which is very useful on getting started, which we basically covered a little bit, but linking, for instance, to all kinds of things that we saw an element, we saw a view, we saw a parameter, but there are many other things in there, like web page I cover now as well, automation script, we'll see later on about automation script, but everything you can think of is in here, but also more dynamic behavior, and all of these things are in here, together with some reference material on all the different properties that are available. So a lot of things are in there. Now, because sometimes it might be a little bit, overwhelming to have, for instance, let's say, do we have something like alarm, linking a shape to an alarm. Sometimes it might be a little bit, a lot of text and give me an example kind of thing you have. Well, therefore, you typically have for all of these things also an example. For an example, you can look at the Zine platform. So the Zine platform actually allows you to have some nice a nice example. So what is the Zine platform? Let me open that in a new tab page here. So if I click on Zine, you will see that the Zine demo system and some more information on how you can access that. So I already mentioned that in the fundamentals. And in that Zine system, you will have a special drawing, which is called Visual Overview Design Examples. And somewhere on that page, you will have the alarm, or somewhere on that Visio drawing, you will have that example. So, and this is the linking to an alarm. But this Visio file is very powerful, but because it is one Visio file including all the different possible, or not all of them, but a lot of the different possibilities into one Visio file. And this is very useful. Let's pull up Zine system here. So here we have the Zine system where we have the possibility to have a nice demo, a little bit like our training system. But if we search for that visual overview design examples, you will find it somewhere in that tree structure. But this is what I call the mother of all Visios, because you do see a lot of tab pages at the top. And each time for each tab page, you do also have a whole series of sub-tab pages. So what can I see on here, for instance? Linking. I can link to objects like to an element or to a view, a service, a redundancy group, to a single parameter. And I can do show the alarm color or a show hide. This is showing, this is hiding. So if I toggle, I have a toggle there, you can see that the other one is showing or hiding. This is flipping around the x-axis or the y-axis, rotating. So here you have a little bit of a rotate. Blinking is possible, changing line and colors. You can link to alarms, you can link to executables, thumbnails. Here you also have a video thumbnail that is added in there, to web pages like I already did, matrices, so trend graphs, that's also an interesting one. So each time you wanna investigate something, you can see it in the help how to do it, but you can also see a fully functional example here. You might not have the rights to edit the drawing, but you do have the rights to download the Visio drawing, and then you can go to that tab page and take a look at the shape that is on there and what kind of linking is done for this one, and what kind of properties are on there. So What else is available there? Lots of other things and data like gold, silver, bronze properties are shown here. A path to make a drawing, or like more like a transponder view, for instance. Also, an LED bar is being drawn there. Variables, left, right. So within a session, you can use variables. You can use drag and drop to drop something on there to link it onto my IRD1 or IRD2. Also, when you move your mouse, you can see that the bottom one is here popping up with the details of the one that I move my mouse over. Positioning, docking, stretching, all kinds of things to do layout or background for what is the no scaling? We do have here a background, for instance, if you want to stretch the background over the full screen real estate. Layout options with scaling, no scaling, grid controls can be created. Children to automatically iterate over a number of my elements, all my IRDs in Brussels, Paris, etc. But I can say only the ones that are in alarm. None of them are in alarm. Not sure if I can generate some alarms. So that's more like all the ones that are in alarm gives me a nice penalty box, you could say, of those elements, those children's. Controls, all kinds of controls. So an inline control for my audio output level. Tables can be added in there. The trend charts, stacked graphs, custom timeline, custom controls with rotary buttons and sliders. Timelines can be added in there. A Visio inside a Visio is possible, so we can have embedded Visios in here as well. DCF properties or DCF between items, that lines are automatically being added, all kinds of EPM things, conditional, special miscellaneous things for conditional highlighting. If I select a class, gold, silver, bronze, some of them are highlighted. Other kind of colors you can play around with, backgrounds, inner color, outer color kind of things. So lots and lots of different possibilities. Basically too many to go over all of them. But remember that in that docs, you do find a lot of information on all the linking that is possible and all the dynamic behavior and possibilities that you have in here, with each time an example, a reference to that zine platform, that visual overview design example, the mother of all Visios, as I call it, with specifically on that page the example on there. So think about that zine example system. So if you go to docs and you find more information on certain linking that we have not covered in this example, take a look at the docs, take a look at the zine example. You have a fully functional example there. You can easily download that drawing, copy and paste a shape into your drawing, and adapt the linking to some of the objects you have in your DataMiner system. So that's how you can easily move forward with those examples. Okay, so the exercise, we already did that. We linked to the audio output level and the LMB1 supply, and we added an overall alarm state, even an LED and even a show height. So we did quite a nice example already while we were doing the exercises or the demonstrations. This is a show height that has been done with the switch here. So you can also, instead of the LED or the LMB1 supply showing and hiding, you can use a switch, for instance, showing this line or this line, depending on the position of the switch. So this line is being shown when it's on backup, the other line is being shown when it's on main, so that only one or the other is being shown. That's how this kind of graphical presentation is nicely showing where the signal is flowing. So we did that, but with the LMB1 supply, which is the same principle, you could say. So we saw quite a nice bunch of examples in here and some nice exercises we went through when we went through the slides. So we started with basic linking to a view, to an element. We added the name on there. Then we took the example of the element and we added some parameters on there as well, with some LEDs and some show height actions as well. I would say this is the start, the foundation. There are many more possibilities, but the docs is your friend for that, together with the zine system to further build your knowledge on creating Visio files. So I hope you enjoyed this first graphical presentation that you can build on top of your DataMiner system, and see you in the next one.